weather better, and we just appreciate your leadership. And I'd like to present you with this gavel, Miss Beth.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Thank you for your service.
How many years have you been? 3 years. Okay. And you've been on the board?
I'm in my 8th year. Well, 8th and a half. I did a half of it.
I'll make sure I get it correct.
And when you were asking me questions about it there a while ago, I just had to kind of shrug off.
We lay there, what a mess.
Thank you.
That's why I brought it. Oh, well, thank you. I can try this out at home.
Anybody need it? Don't break it on his head.
Hey. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's
I
quite nice.
appreciate you.
That's awesome.
Okay, moving right along here.
I should have shown it to get the blood pressure and got it.
We're up to 4 now. It's that time in the ceremony, or the time in our agenda when we have to adopt that particular agenda. And there's a couple of things I need to mention to you. Under old business, number 2, the summer focus program, we're not going to be able to do that this morning, I understand. And also under new business and recognizing Greenville High School basketball champs, they're not going to be here to receive the is that what you told me?
Right, that is correct. They will be attending the first meeting in April, which is April the 11th. They just had a conflict today, and then I think spring break is the last meeting of the month. So they will be here, but we already had it on here, and we just thought that we could go ahead and recognize them. And actually, the 11th will work well because it gives some time to do maybe a proclamation for each of the players. And have that ready.
So you do want us to go ahead and recognize them
I just go ahead and recognize them and congratulate them, and then we'll bring them back and we'll have everything ready to go.
Okay, under number 9, 1 stands. Under 8, 2 is going to be taken out.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, we need to add year-end budget amendments.
And that's under number 6. That would be number 6.
Right, under new business, yes, sir.
Did you say amendments?
Yes, amendments to the year-end budget. This is for the auditors, as because they'll be finishing everything and getting ready for you guys here, probably in April.
Just for my own understanding, under old business, summer focus program comes out. We add additionally under new business, number 6, year-end budget amendments. Do I hear a motion we accept that agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? So passes. The minutes that we have here are from our special call meeting on the 27th and also our regular meeting on the 27th. And it's here again, all written out for us. You should have had an opportunity to review. Do I hear a motion that these be accepted?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion of what's there? Then I'll call for a vote. All in favor? And so passes. Our municipal comments this morning. Ms. Charlene, I got you in my sights there.
Good morning, thanks for the opportunity. We are, if you know, finally in the old league building now. And hopefully we can move forward with the county's agreement with us about the parking lot, etc.
Very good. Mr. Doug, I've got you. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Cuddy, did you have something you just were ready to present to us?
Yes, I do, as a matter of fact. Welcome to Pi Day. You all be known.
Honest education.
Anybody have any idea what's going on in 27th this morning? That was a significant challenge getting here today.
Yeah, this is the Oakburg truck.
At any rate, what I did want to bring up, Luthersville is going to have its special election on Tuesday to fill the vacancy on its city council. We have 3 people running. The other item that I wanted to mention is on behalf of Mayor Hancock and the rest of the city council, I want to thank Alphonse for his presentation at our council meeting last night. He did a fabulous job, supported by Theron, in dispelling some misconceptions, shall we say, about the fire district and things going on. It surprises me sometimes, and I'm delighted that this is a surprise, the misinformation, disinformation, and quite frankly, the prevarications surrounding some issues. And I just, on behalf of the mayor and the council, wanted to thank the two of them for being there last night.
Sorry. Thank you. I guess I'll move to you now, Mr. Doug Westbury.
Good morning. Thank you. You know, there's never been a time since between meetings that I'm here that in some way the staff of the county does not help the city of Manchester in some way. Most recently, Brand's helped us out with the addresses that we need for the census. But Ron, Gene, everyone is always quick to respond to us and give us the hand, so I just want to show our appreciation for that. It's so important for cities and counties to work together, and we get a lot of help. I didn't mean to leave Thayer out there. That's always a constant that we communicate, so I give thanks for that. Monday night, the city council did adopt an amendment or an addition to our solid waste ordinance. We were dumpsters that businesses pay for and have it at their locations have been being abused with people putting things in them, garbage and items in them, as well as dumpster items. So we did adopt an amendment to our ordinance to include fines and all, a way for us to combat that. So we hope that will correct things. We've had dumpsters that get so filled on the weekend that the businesses can't put anything in them. So a lot of folks were using them, and then of course your dumpster divings creates mess as far as safety issues and all. So we did adopt that Monday night. Be glad to give anyone a copy or email you a copy. I'd like to see it. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Mr. Doug.
And if I could echo the same with the city, they're very helpful for us too. I know recently we had a line that due to a coal project we had to do, and Sam was there helping us and showing us what we needed to do. The city came back afterwards and retreated lines, so that goes both ways, and we appreciate it.
I forgot to add a bit of news too. It looks like May 31st will be the closing on the sale of the gas system. Praise God, we're still in the gas business. When I scraped pollen and ice mixed off my windshield the other morning, I said, it's good to still be in the natural gas.
That is all the municipalities represented in it, I believe. Well, at this point, is there a constitutional officer out there anywhere? Well, you know, nature really hates a vacuum. I'm going to do something a bit different. Mr. Randy Robertson, you're with us. Would you like to speak to us in this slot? Anything you would like to say?
Well, I certainly don't want to come here and politics. Even though my mother says I've been doing it, my mother said I did that from the womb. But what I would like to just say, and listen to the city manager talk about Manchester, that over the past 10 months, I've spent a lot of time in Manchester and Greenville and Warm Springs, walking around and looking at small communities. I was eating pancakes at 7 a.m. on Sunday morning at a Paul's and Pancakes event up in the northern part of the county. Yes, sir. It would be at the County Line Cafe. And I want to tell you, being a kid from Catawba, Georgia, I got to tell you, I've never felt closer to home than going through here, drinking coffee with the folks on a Saturday morning in Manchester, even though it was from McDonald's, which my complaint was there needs to be a coffee shop in Manchester. But I can't thank y'all enough for what y'all do in this county, for the way y'all take care of people. And misinformation and disinformation is the burden that every government has to carry. Susan's brother and I have worked together for over 30 years, and he and I both have spent a lot of times fighting that from the law side and from the political side, because people honestly don't take enough time to ask the questions and understand their government. And it's a thankless job that y'all do. I appreciate y'all for what you do, and the citizens that don't think about you every day, they do appreciate the fact that the trash is picked up, and that they do have public service, and that the grass is mowed, and all that other good stuff that they don't even think about. And this is because of the sacrifice of y'all and the calling y'all have in the public service. And y'all have my cell phone number. Y'all free to call me and ask me my opinion about anything. Y'all know what I'm doing. And I promise y'all, if this turns out the way I believe it's going to turn out, that y'all are going to have a strong, strong advocate up there in Atlanta, Georgia, and y'all are going to have a friend in your cell phone that if you call me, I'll be there and I'll come to you. And I don't have a better advocate of that or a better witness of that than Susan Henderson. She'll tell you what kind of person I am. 30 years of law enforcement and about almost 40 years of being raised by a woman under 5 feet tall with a good right arm has taught me service. But I'm glad to be here, and I'm already taking notes. I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Robertson. With accolades like that, we'll invite you back. Let me go ahead and pick up my department heads now. Skipper?
Nothing at this time.
Nothing at this time. Tyrell?
I don't have anything.
Nothing? Okay. Ron? Sean?
Nothing at this moment.
Okay. Bryn?
You knew that was gonna happen. You called on me last.
Well, we already primed the pump, didn't we?
That's right.
All right.
I'll start out, it's just, I guess Fonz in here, but we'll start out with, we have a treasure in this county as the covered bridge out there, but unfortunately we have a small population that like to go out there and do things that they're not supposed to, which has, we've had some incidents out there in the last year with some of the things that we've tried to do to improve the covered bridge. So we found it necessary to put some cameras up out there, which is probably all y'all realize is long overdue. I think yesterday I reported that we were going to go ahead and order those, last night, but I think me and Skip are working on something that's going to be a little better than what we had proposed, rather than just trail cameras, because the maintenance on those will be probably horrific. And then we'll probably only realize it when something happens out there, and we'll go out there and we'll find that it's dead, the cameras, so we're working on something else based on some solar power and some hidden cameras, and hopefully we'll be able to report to you on that by the next meeting. And the only issue out there is the cellular coverage, because these will basically report back regularly. So even if somebody does damage them or shoot them out or something, there's a good chance we'll catch them on camera. So is there any questions about that?
I think just to go ahead with the cell phone thing, any of us will be able to access those cameras through our cell phones. Is that
If you
correct?
have the access,
Go ahead.
Joe Blow out in the middle of nowhere, can't get to him unless he has password.
No, I'll understand.
But yes.
Another thing too that I was asked to report on, actually, myself and Fonz were actually going to report on this, is, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the SAFER grant through FEMA. SAFER grant, basically, it's actually two components to it. The first one is hiring new firefighters. We looked at this some years ago, and basically because we did not have a funding source to continue paid firemen, we kind of, at that time, felt that it wasn't right for us. Now that we do have a funding component for our fire departments, the SAFER grant looks like it would be a good fit for us at this point, in my opinion. Now there is some upkeep with it, but for the most part, how it works, and this is up to y'all. But basically, I know that let's just talk about the first component as far as hiring paid firefighters. The first year, they will actually pay 75% of a firefighter's salary and benefits, and then there's a formula that determines after that how much they pay, but it is still somewhere in that neighborhood. And that is good for 3 years. The second component of this is something that's kind of new over the last 3 years, and it's the volunteer retention and recruitment. And there's several items in that. First off, it's good for 4 years if we're awarded it. But what it will do actually for new recruits, it'll pay for all their PPE, meaning their turnout gear, their helmet. It'll pay for their physicals and a few other components in there as far as recruitment goes. On the current volunteers that we have, what it'll do with them is it'll actually allow us, if we wanted to, at least during the grant period, to institute a pay-per-call. You know, 15, 20 bucks every time they run a call, maybe to recoup their gasoline, and but it'll actually reimburse us for that as well. Another thing too it pays for is tuition. If those firefighters, we want to send them to school and there's any kind of cost, it's something too that we just would submit a request for payment to them. There is a little upkeep with it, and that's to be determined if we have, the personnel and all that to handle that. I know that's a concern, so all I'm doing at this point is just throwing the information out there for y'all. And the other thing that I understand is the volunteer side of it will also pay for a coordinator to coordinate the volunteers, during that time. So there's a lot more information. This is just kind of the surface of it. Of course, we're going to need to get with Mr. Gay and Mr. Gregory to see how that's going to fit into what we can do. But there is some money out there. I feel personally that it'd be nice to have a grant writer, but it may be something that we can do. So, any questions? Yes, ma'am.
First of all, thank you for following up on this. I had sent this grant out a couple of weeks to everybody, so I did ask Bryn and Alphonse to do a little bit more work. We were able to contact the actual representative for the state of Georgia, and she was very helpful to provide you with all that information. But overall, like you said, it's a good grant. The only challenge, like a lot of grants that we get the information, is due April the 27th.
Yes.
It
opens, and that's the thing, is that it's a 30-day window. It opens on the 26th of March and then due the 27th.
Yeah, it was posted on March the 22nd, so hopefully you all receive that when I send it out. The other one was a grant that is available through the Firehouse Public Safety Foundation.
I was making sure. Okay.
The Firehouse Public Safety Foundation grant, it was posted on March the 13th. The due date is May the 24th. This one is done on a quarterly basis, so I will make sure that everybody gets this information. They normally only assist people that has a firehouse sub location in their area. However, they do have a stipulation that in a rural area, if you're at least 60 miles from one of their location, they still will assist you. So I think there's one in Noonan, and I know that's not 60 miles away.
There's one in LaGrange.
One in LaGrange as well. So they provide a lot of opportunities for first responders. They also allow you to get vests and things for your gear, and then they also have a part in here for scholarships and continuing education. So once again, there are a lot of opportunities for us to look at ways to subsidize the costs that we may have, with our fire station. And I'm sure after Mr. Gay shares some information with us today about the stations, we may want to look at some optional ways to subsidize some of the costs that's come to this. So thank you, and Alphonse, both for following up on that.
And Alphonse is actually working. He's up on that incident on 27, so that's why he's not here. But we had initially planned to speak jointly. Mr. Gay, do you want to bring up the survey at this point, or do you want to wait till your time?
We can go ahead and mention that. We have been working on a survey for our visioning sessions, and Allison and Brent have been very helpful in this. we've got it written up, and I think you guys all should maybe have a copy of that. Brenda is preparing to be able to put this on our website where we can get additional information from the public. And, we hope to be able to gather as much information as we can. We try to make it pretty simple. It's a check the box, and then we did leave some comment periods for people if they want to make comments. If you guys are okay with the questions we have here, or we need to add some, if you would let us know, because we have we have our first visioning session, I think, tomorrow night, and I'd like to be able to hand these out to the audience there to complete. And Brent, we already have an ad coming out in the paper about this, about the visioning sessions, and we have 4 set up. We'll probably have 1 more finally. But we wanted you guys to take a look at this and make sure that y'all were okay with the questions that were here. We added kind of, customized it for Meriwether. We used a template from some other areas that had been provided and looked up, others as well. But we added some of the other things. We'd like to know whether or not you're a resident of Meriwether County, or you own property, or live here, you own property somewhere else. The age we thought was important too, because it'd be real interesting to see what, say, a 30-year-old would see and feel like we needed versus a 60-year-old. Then we talked about education and where do you live in the community. Just general questions, where they want to see, what's our biggest challenges, what's the most important public services. We had a question about houses, even tiny house communities we put there to see what people thought. And then about Lost and East Lost and Lost and T-Lost and everything else. So we feel like it's a pretty good question group. And if there's anything else you guys feel like we need to add, if you could let us know, because when the paper comes out on Friday, I think Brent's going to have this available on that.
That's right, we're going to put it on Facebook, we're going to put it on our website.
I think it's going to be very important that people can complete it online. People having to print it out and then mail it in, they may or may not do it, but if we can really get the word out that you can just do it online and submit it, I think we'll get more response.
And Brent, you got it set up where you guys do where it'll come to basically an email address, right?
No, actually, we were able to make that a little better.
Okay.
So we've got actual analytical data that we can actually pull that as a chart and a group, and how many of this particular demographic and how many answer, this and so forth. So we've done, I think we've been able to do a little better than what we initially, because initially we were just going to have the answers go to an email, and then probably me and Allison were going to have to kind of sort it out. So that was kind of a time saver.
So when will it be posted, available online to start?
From I understand Friday. I mean, I can put it up this afternoon.
I'm
But
just saying, if we all promote it through our own pages or whatever we do, or our email contacts, I think we can get some people to do it, so.
Just Mr. Gay just tell me to give the go-ahead, and we'll get it up.
But if we tell them Friday, then we know that it's, I'll wait till Friday if that's
You
when it's
need
going
an
to be.
approval for this one.
I just want you guys to look at it. I don't need a vote or anything. Just tell me if y'all are okay with it. And when I hear that all of you are okay with it,
Yeah.
we will put it online at that point.
We had talked about this, so thank you for initiating this. You and I had discussed this prior, but the other thing is, the word that we used a lot in the comprehensive plan meeting was affordable housing. So I don't know if that's a difference versus tiny homes or
No, tiny homes is actually, I think.
I know it's
something-
different,
okay.
but I'm just saying, in our comprehensive plan meeting, the word affordable homes were used a lot. I just would like to say maybe, I don't know, I just think it's one of those words.
I had starter, we can change that to affordable.
And
And I put the tiny house in there because it seems like every meeting we were talking about tiny house communities.
You could do start/affordable homes.
Because in most of the economic development meetings we go to, that's the terminology you hear a lot
What
of.
question number is that?
Okay.
9.
10. 10 on this.
Yeah, it's a little different on the one that y'all have. There was one in there that I couldn't split into 2 parts, so I had to actually make it a number.
Okay.
Okay, so you're referring to tiny house communities here?
Yeah.
Right, where it says starter home,
Yes.
right above that, you can put a / affordable homes.
Oh, okay, but you're not referring to the tiny house?
No,
Okay, all right,
no.
okay.
Hey, some of those are not affordable.
Because when you go to a lot of the economic development meetings, you hear the word affordable housing more than starter homes. It's just the terminology.
FYI, if you guys get any calls from anybody having problems with it, they need to put 4 in for it to validate. So, if,
Okay.
you check 4, otherwise it's gonna error you back and say, please check 4.
Well, maybe we need to put that in our instructions too.
Sure.
To put that number in there.
But a lot of
And I
times,
put, some of them have 5
Yeah.
that you select, and I think this one, because it was a limited number of categories, so I just last one 4.
The only one that I don't is, here under, come on, back up, Skip, is right here. You can select as many or as least as you want, just because it's actually an opinion, as far as how many, or what funding sources do you?
Yeah.
but Brent, let me ask you, a lot of times when you fill those forms out, if you don't do it correctly, it kind of do a red light like
It'll do
Survey
that.
Monkey does, and it won't let you.
This is Survey Monkey, actually.
Survey Monkey?
Yeah.
All right, so it won't let you complete it or submit it until, and then it'll tell you which one you need to go back to put in. So it's
This is
Survey
exact-
Monkey?
That's correct.
Easy.
Yeah.
That's easy.
It'll just tell you, if you try to submit it, that, just like you do a lot of online things, it'll tell you that, please answer 5 on number 9 or something like that.
Like I said, if we just put something there telling them to make sure that if it says check 5, maybe that'll help them from having to keep going back.
And Brent, can you go back to the very first page on this? Go back to the very first one. Because I know we had, and I guess this being a survey is a little different, but we had some language going in that we were talking about, thanking the people and telling them why we were taking the survey.
There you go, right here. There you go.
Is that the beginning?
Okay, I can't see,
It
yeah.
says Meriwether County and all of our cities are working together to develop a comprehensive plan to help guide our future growth. Your input is vital in development of this plan. We'd like to thank you for taking a few moments to take the following survey.
Okay, thank you.
Think we,
Okay.
thank you for that, Mr.
Three Rivers took a look at it, they said
I
they,
saw his
yeah,
response.
they liked it, they wanted us to hand it out. So we'll do that, we'll have it ready Thursday. Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, we're still in our department heads. Miss Jane.
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
As all of you know, I'm on the Keep Narrow Beautiful kick right now. Our campaign to clean up, our Great American Cleanup Day is Saturday, April the 21st. We need 2 things. We need volunteers to man the container sites. We found it works much better if you have a live person there to assist and show them where to put the garbage and mattresses and everything. So I'm looking for volunteers to work 2-hour shifts for that. And then we need teams. I have a few teams that have come in. Most people wait till the last minute, which just drives me crazy, but we do need teams to go out and pick up trash. And it's April the 21st. Tires will go to Tyrell's office, Public Works, and Mr. Theron and you all, thank you, have agreed to allow a 2-week period for people to take their tires to Public Works any day for 2 weeks. So I want to get that word out, please, and I'll be sending you some more information, but the forms are out here on the table for registration. Delegation of where the containers will be. We hope to get a few more containers this year than we had last year, so everything's moving right along. We just want everybody to get involved and support the effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Jane.
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask one final word?
You
Or ask
sure?
One thing on the previous, Mr. Gann, how long did you want the survey to run for?
We need to have the survey run for probably 2 weeks. I'd say 3 weeks. That'll give us time to get everything.
And I'd also like to say for Ms. Jane, if for some reason you have this service, I subscribe to it for a month, but if you want to put a survey out when we're done with Keep Meriwether Beautiful, we can do that as well. It's through Survey Monkey, so, so just give it me and we can throw something up as well. Okay?
Miss Susan, I know you've handed us a brochure. Do you have something you would like to talk about?
Yes, sir. I'd like to point out that next week, from March 18th to March 24th, is National Agricultural Awareness Week, and March 20th, next Tuesday, is actually National Ag Day. And since about June of last year, my program development team Georgia Farm Bureau, Georgia Forestry Commission, Manchester High School, Future Farmers of America, and Meriwether County Cattlemen's Association have been working to sponsor a fair which will take place next Tuesday morning in the old Greenville Middle School football field. We have about 5-6 farmers from the county that will be there. We have all the first and second graders in Meriwether County coming to that fair to meet farmers. Farmers will have an opportunity to display some crops, livestock that they raise. Lots of cool equipment is being brought out, big tractors, bedding equipment, hay balers. We'll have a hay maze for the kids to run through. The Georgia Mobile Dairy Cow will also be there and doing demonstrations. So it's not really open to the public, but I do encourage you commissioners, you have a schedule there and the schools will be participating. So if it's a school in your district, you want to come out and see what the kids are doing, we would certainly welcome your presence. I would also ask you to think hard about how farmers impact your life. You like to eat, you like to have clothes to wear, you like to have a structure to live in, to work in. A farmer has touched your life. So when you see them next week, if you come out, please thank them for the hard work that they do. There is always diversity in their production systems, but for every single one of them, there's major challenges. This last week on Friday morning, we hit at least 26 out in our strawberry orchard fields. It majorly impacts those crops. So farmers are struggling all the time. Legislation, weather, climate, attitudes of people, it's all there. It's a lot like government we're getting to. So if you see a farmer, please thank him next week. And perhaps for the rest of the year also. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Susan. And Miss Ashley Harmon. I believe you're Mrs. Harmon since.
I am Mrs. Harmon. But thank you. But to piggyback on what Susan said about Ag Week next week, next Tuesday, the same day as the festival that she's having, I'm having a youth livestock interest meeting. So I want to bring youth livestock back to Meriwether County. I grew up showing livestock, and I would love to see the youth of Meriwether County bring that back. So next Tuesday night at 6 o'clock at the Extension office, we're going to have an interest meeting. Of course, I've been to all the schools this month for my monthly club meeting, and my students are like, well, can we bring chickens to this meeting? Can I bring my rabbits? Can I? No. Don't bring any animals to the meeting. We're just going to learn about the opportunities that our 4-H'ers have in the community. And students can start showing livestock in the first grade. They can't show all species in the first grade, but there are opportunities for 1st through 12th graders to show livestock. We have a lot going on in Meriwether County 4-H. Our shooting sports teams are in the middle of practicing. Our archery team has already gone to a state contest. Our shotgun team has started practicing. Both of those teams practice behind the 911 center. Unfortunately, we're going to move the archery team, but for a good reason. We have outgrown the space that we have over behind the 911 center. So I'm working with the Board of Education to allow us to shoot, to practice shooting archery on Sunday afternoons at the old Greenville football field. So that's a good problem to have, that we've outgrown that practice field. But I also want to promote our fundraisers that we have going on. We're selling Vidalia onions, 10-pound bags for $10, and we also have tomato plants that we're selling. A local farmer has donated tomato plants for us to sell. And these proceeds will go towards, if a 4-H wants you to buy onions from please buy from the 4-H'er. But these, they're raising money to help pay for camp. But any profit that we make at the Extension office, that'll go towards the fund for 4-H. So I have order forms. I'm going to leave them in the lobby. So really you all love Vidalia onions or want to plant on tomatoes, so I can set you up for that. But thank you for allowing me to be here.
Thank you, Ms. Ashley. Yes,
I
ma'am.
just want to say how much I appreciate all the work you're doing with 4-H. I grew up too, very involved in 4-H, and a couple of weeks ago, I got the opportunity to listen to one of the 4-H'ers give a practice speech before they were going to competition, and they won. If everybody saw it was right, and I have already ordered Vidalia onions too, but thank you for all of your work with them. It's good to see all your posts online and what all of y'all got
Well,
going
thank
on.
you, and I bet that was Landon Cunningham.
It was. We had quite a little group there to listen to her and critique her, and she did a great job. And it was public speaking. That's one of the things I did when I was in 4-H.
And I will say one more thing. We also have summer camp sign up going on. And on our first day of summer camp sign up, I was like, okay, my goal today is going to be 5. Within 18 hours, we had 25 4-H'ers signed up for summer camp. So we have already exceeded our goal, but just this morning, I got 2 more calls from 2 other 4-H'ers saying, is there room for me to go to camp? Yes. So if you have children or grandchildren, grades 4 through 6, send them. I'd love to take them to camp with me this summer to Rock Eagle.
Thank you. Have I covered everyone now? I think I have. Okay. We have no reason to have a public hearing this morning. We're going right into old business. The first item on the agenda is appointment to the Airport Authority, District 5.
While I have made some progress on that, and then something's in the works, I'm not ready to make that nomination, so can we table it, please?
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? So tabled. No summer focus program, we've already eliminated that. Okay, under new business, recognize the Greenville High School basketball champions, and I think you've got that, Mr. Gay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. We all want to reach out and congratulate the Greenville High School girls in their state basketball championship. It's a very great honor, and they had a great season, and they're going to be planning on attending your meeting on April the 11th. But we wanted to go ahead and reach out and congratulate them, and I think the paper's running a congratulations on that, and the county will be part of that. So we're going to have them here on April 11th, and we'll try to put some proclamations together to recognize all of them. They had conflicts this meeting and the next meeting. So again, we just want to reach out and say congratulations to them, and we appreciate all the coaches and parents and the students and everybody's participation in the program. So bring some extra recognition to our county. So we'll have them here on the 11th.
Okay. Thank you for that, Mr. Gay.
Thank you.
The next item on this new business agenda is confirm joint Meriwether County and City's Comprehensive Plan Public Visioning Meeting, which I believe is this Thursday, right?
Yes, sir. We have this Thursday, but we also have planned some additional meetings. We felt like we needed to reach beyond just this Thursday. So we actually have this Thursday, 5:30 to 7:30 here in this room. That will be for the Greenville area. On Monday, the 19th, we're meeting from 6 to 8 at Woodbury City Hall. On Tuesday, the 20th, we're meeting at Manchester City Hall. And on Thursday, the 22nd, we're meeting at Luthersville. And
Mr. Gay, the correction, it's not City Hall, it's the auditorium.
auditorium. Okay,
For Luther's.
right. Okay. And we'll have someone there to direct us in. And so I know Three Rivers is going to be involved in the one Thursday, March the 15th, and they're going to try to attend the others, but county staff's going to manage those as well, and we'll do the presentations if they can't be there. We'll pass out those surveys and provide people with their own line. And this is an important part of the comprehensive plan, because this is where we ask the citizens, what do you want Meriwether County to be? What do you feel like are the greatest challenges? And just get their feedback, because that's very important as we start to compile and complete the comprehensive plan. So what I wanted to ask you guys to do is just confirm those dates. We've already sent the, notices out on them, but we did want to get them back in the minutes that you guys had asked us to set those dates.
On March the 19th, what is the time for that city?
March 19th is from 6 to 8.
6 to 8, and on March the 20th?
6 to 8. And then
Is that true with Lucasville?
Lucasville is 6:30 to 8:30.
6:30 to 8.
Will this paper be put online?
It's already on.
Is there? Okay. So good.
And it will be in the newspaper.
Hold on, do you want, when you say put the paper online, do you want a PDF copy put online? You can download it?
I was just thinking more for information, or we could share it from there or whatever. I missed it, I guess, if it's already on there.
Is it on the face, it's online, I don't know whose page, because I liked it from
It's not
somebody.
online, I haven't put it online yet.
I think we sent it to Ms. Corker too,
Okay.
but we need to go
We
ahead.
sent this to her to put on Facebook?
I think I know I put it on my Facebook page already.
Okay.
But
And I
if we
like
can get
it
that
on
on
somebody's
everything,
Facebook page.
It would be good. We'd like to get the word out as much as you guys do. Okay, so anyway, I just wanted you guys to confirm those dates.
We thank you for that. And item number 3 in the new business, we're going to accept from Water and Sewerage Authority a John Deere tractor 2556, serial number 417183. Can I not just do all this at one
You
time?
can do all of it with
Bush Hog 406, serial number 12-11967. 2004 Chevrolet C3500, serial number 1GBJC 33154F166197. And would you like a word of explanation, or we just need to accept them back to our inventory?
Well, what they're doing is these have been in their inventory, and at their last meeting, and Mr. Dunaway is here, he can speak better than I can, but, really this is a scenario where they have this equipment, and the county's working with them now, and we're, providing stuff that they need, so rather than have the equipment sit there, they thought, let's just go ahead and sign this back over to the county. And there's no dollar exchanges whatsoever. We'll cover it under insurance, and we'll utilize it, and, go back into our inventory. And, if they need something, we can take some equipment up there. If this equipment fine, if it's our other equipment, it's fine. But I think this is a good move for them to do this, and they're working very well.
That just leaves the backhoe and our standby pump on our insurance policy, which reduces that because now we're not insuring a vehicle anymore. Good. So our insurance will drop down because neither one of those goes on the road very much. So that was other thing of trying to keep our costs down on our insurance side. And I think eventually we probably need to just sit down and talk to Pharrell and make use of that backhoe up there. It doesn't need to sit there. It's going to be better off if we use it. But if we have a spill or a leak, it's going to have to come back up there, pretty quick, to take care of something like that.
And we may be able to pick it up and use it during the day, and just instead of returning it to public works, we can return it
Yeah,
over to there.
just keep it right in the county, so it's available to us if we need it up there.
Then I need a motion to accept specified equipment.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on this equipment? Do I hear a vote? And vote. Looks like it's unanimous. Thank y'all. We're up to the dedication of the cat room at the animal shelter. And Sean, I know you're going to be involved in this.
Well, I didn't say nothing earlier. We had a fellow, Mr. Alan Pratt, passed away late last year, and Alan Pratt. And they had decided, instead of having flowers and stuff at the ceremony, the funeral and ceremony, they decided to have everybody make donations to the animal shelter. We wound up getting several $100s, maybe even up over $1,000 as donations for this. And with permission, we took that money and we built a cat display room in the front office. so that we can take and put cats in there. They can run around. They got the climbing tree, everything else to climb on. We've painted it. We've painted some trees on the walls with leaves and flowers at the bottom, and put a nice floor in it, litter box and everything, so the cats can be more comfortable. Mr. Pratt's birthday is March 16th, Friday, and we had a plaque made up to dedicate to him in his memory of the love for animals in Meriwether County. So we want to dedicate the room to him and his memory on March 16th and have his wife there to present it to and everything. We would like to see if we get the newspaper there if we can. It's just, to me, it's my way of letting the people know who support us and help us the way they do, letting them know that we appreciate it, and we are going to do things in recognition of them and present back to them for helping us out.
What time is that?
What time?
Originally, we were looking at doing it about 10 o'clock Friday morning. Ms. Pratt has actually asked if we could do it about 3 o'clock Friday.
3 p.m.
I would like to invite all the commissioners, anybody from the county who wants to come out. We're looking at having some little cupcakes and cookies and stuff there, and just make it a good formal thing, and had even considered putting the ribbon across the door and cutting the ribbon during all this and everything. So just something to make it and let people know that we are thankful for what support we get.
Thank you for that, Sean. And we're certainly privileged over at the animal shelter to have quite a few donors
Yes.
to help us out with that whole enterprise.
Definitely. And at the same time, I'd also, after talking to Mr. Theron about this, I'd like to see if we can get it when we do this, that we get it in writing or something, so that when and if I do ever leave the county, somebody else can't come in and just change the room and do away with it and everything, because this is, like I said, in memory of him and his love for animals.
Mr. Chair, I do want to ask Sean, we had sent out, you know me, I send out grant information all the time.
I was going to get with you after the meeting to talk to you
Okay,
about that.
and you've talked to Mr. Cuddy
I've
too.
talked to Mr. Cuddy. We're actually meeting after all this over there today. And I haven't told Mr. Cuddy yet either. I've got a professor from University of West Georgia. Spoke to her yesterday. She's going to. What Commissioner Hines is talking about was there was a grant that came out for a $25,000 grant to build a new dog park. And we want to look at doing a new dog park behind the shelter and fence it in and everything. And I've got a professor from University of West Georgia going to help me write the grant. She's already working on everything for it now. We're doing pictures, and she told me that if I do a hand-drawn blueprint of what we want to do out there, that she'll get one of the students from the college to make it all official and do it on CAD and everything, to where it can all be turned in professionally and hopefully help it, make it more positive for us to get the grant.
I just want to share, you know, some people may go dog park, but they're very popular, they're very good. When you look at recreation, a lot of cities push it, and Georgia actually ranks pretty high in this region of having them. You know, everybody thinks about Piedmont. I think Giant Creek, Ackworth, there's several that
City of
have them.
Noonan just
And the
approved
city
a
of
new one.
Noonan is just approved one. So once again, when we talk about quality of life, recreation, it fits within that thing. So, you know, I think we meet a lot of the criterias in what the grant initially indicated. So once again, I do send out a lot of information, and I appreciate those who kind of take an initiative and kind of work with it. So whatever you can do with the help of Mr. Cuddy.
The one thing I'm gonna need help with is I need letters for the grant from civic organizations and county leaders as to why the dog park would benefit the county and the residents around here.
That shouldn't be hard.
So I will need some of that. Okay? Anything else? Thank y'all.
That's rude. They told me I couldn't bring it in.
So does that mean I'm approved to do the cat room on Friday?
That's right.
We'll get it to, if you guys don't mind, we just talked about having it, if the board would just take a vote on that way we'll have it in the records, and it'll, so.
Okay, we're looking at a dedication on March 16th at 3 p.m. for the cat room at the animal shelter. Do I hear a motion to make this so? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? So passes. Thank you. Oh, number 5, discussion of fire station. This ought to get interesting.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Well, we got 6 bids in for the fire stations. And we'd all done some kind of, takeoffs on about what we thought it was gonna cost, but we were waiting to see. The bids all came in substantially, and I mean really substantially over what our architect's estimates was and what we had estimated. I talked to a friend of mine who said that the problem with bidding construction right now is volatility of the steel. Because, I know there's been talk of tariffs and everything else, and all of a sudden, he told me that the contractors cannot get a quote on steel for a longer period than 7 days. So they can't go ahead and pre-order. They have to get it within the 7 days or the price goes up. So considering that fact and the fact that there's some things that we can do, because anytime you have architects, engineers, they, that's their nature. They over-engineer, they over-architect. And so I think there's some things that we can do to really get this back down, very close to what our budget figures are. So what I would like to recommend is that we reject all of the bids and allow us to negotiate with the person that provided us the low bid, with the company, to bring this back into our budget line, and then we'll bring that back and get everything squared away, with the board, and we'll move forward. I'd rather do that than try to go back through the bid process, because we're gonna have to just change some things. It's not gonna be anything that's gonna hurt the building, the functionality, the longevity of the building, just some things that we'll look at that we could cut some cost on. And I'll keep you guys informed all along the way with that, but we're gonna start that, right away. In fact, we already started that. And there's some things, I'll give you a good example. We had the bathrooms down at Lake Meriwether, and they came in. We sat down, Mr. Buster, Bill, and myself, and we sat down and changed a few things on the bathroom, and we reduced that price by about, nearly half, I think it was. So we can do some of the same things here. I think the market volatility is one of the things that caused us, because everybody was high, but there was also a huge range within their numbers as well.
I know time is of essence, and we don't really know how long this volatility will last, but it's a shame that we've got to pay for these based on what's going on in the market still. I mean, I know even in our business, fencing stuff that we book, we're good with, but if we have to reorder, people are probably not gonna be able to buy the fencing, and all it goes right back to this deal with the steel. But it just, like I said, I know we're in a time situation here, but it's a shame we can't wait a little bit and see what the market's gonna do and see if these prices don't back off.
Well, and if we have to, we could, we could go ahead and, start to, do some things. We also, as a friend of mine that I was talking to, suggested maybe we look at some other materials. Maybe steel's not the way we want to go. Maybe we might want to look at, some concrete block or, framing. So we're going to discuss all of that, on how we might be able to bring this.
That's probably a good idea, because, otherwise we may build a building and have a ton of money in, and then 6 months down the road, it may not be worth half the value if the steel has gone back.
The addition to Station 6 was block.
Yes, absolutely. And we, to give you how outlandish the numbers were, the Justice Center going into Newton and Coweta County, very elaborate court, facility with, well-finished courtrooms. And it's been a few years ago, it was $150 a square foot. And we got bids on this that were more than $100 a square foot higher than the Justice Center.
Some even
Some of this is $300 a square foot, and this is a building that is just it's just a metal building with an interior. So it was crazy. When I did the first bid, I thought, this must be for all 4 of them. But then I found out, no, it wasn't.
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
And not knowing contracts and all of this, other than the fact the aluminum may go up and everything else, the discrepancy was so big. Even from your low end to your top, that was such a big discrepancy. And I still would like to get a better, clearer understanding of why that was so big. Either the architect did maybe, I don't know, it's just such a big discrepancy, even with the aluminum and all of that.
Right.
And then the other thing is taking and negotiating with the lower bid in the event that there is no negotiation, there's no clarity, or they're not willing to do it, then what does that mean? What's the next step?
Well, we'd have a couple of options at that point. We could go back, change the specs out some and rebid, or just rebid like it is and see what the steel market is. Or, you know, we could potentially, and it'd be a big job, but I think we maybe get some folks that can help us. We could sub this thing out.
Sub it
and
ourselves.
do it ourselves, but that's a pretty big job, and it would take a lot of effort to do that. But I really believe that we will be able to negotiate this down and bring this into reasonable price. And we'll look
Sometimes
at
when you're bidding
other
on
options.
government contracts, some people automatically think governments have money. They obviously don't know Marywood County very well. And I mean, you're talking about you look at the grass cutting contracts we did.
Right.
Those went from way up here to down here, and we went to low bidder, and it's been fine. So sometimes it's just,
Culvert projects were the same. It was the same situation, high bid was around 900,000, the low bid was about 5.
That's right.
I mean, that's a lot, like I said, it's a lot of difference.
It's such a difference.
And I guess, somebody, the longevity of the company, the experience of the company, they may feel like they're.
And a lot of times what you have is also how much work they have. If they don't have any work, I know personally a friend of mine who's a contractor in Coweta, he builds like pipelines and things of that nature. When the recession hit, he was doing jobs for no profit, just to keep his workers on getting them paid. So the prices were phenomenal that were happening at that time. If we were back in 2008, 2009, these prices would be substantially less. But if a contractor has a lot of work on his books, and he says, well, I really don't have time to do this, but if they'll pay me enough, I'll hire some more people and we'll come in and do it. And I think we're a little bit of that too. There's a lot of activity going on, to the north of us, and I think to the southwest of us, and with a lot of construction. And I think everybody's kind of busy. But I do think we can bring this in and not diminish what we want to do. I'd like to recommend that we reject all bids, allow us to negotiate with the low bidder, which is Principal Construction out of Truth County, I think. And, we believe we can bring this in, and what we'll do is we'll work on that, and we will bring that back to you guys.
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
So when we get ready to bid the next set of fire stations, I'm hoping that that time the price of steel will have gone down. So will we use the same spec for this set as we would the second set if the prices are down and the bids are lower?
What we could do is this, in order to ensure that we're going to get them very close, I'd probably like to take the modified specs that we do, bid those. But if the prices come in, then we can go back and add back to that. We can do some more things. One of the things I think that ran the cost up that we'll address was the mezzanine storage area. The intention of it was really to have it where it would we could store some small items up there. I think at the end of the day, we ended up with structural steel supports and concrete slab, roof and whatever, which is, again, as architects want to design it, but I think that ran the cost up too. And we're not going to park a fire truck up there or anything, so we really don't need that much structure.
It even caused the roof height to change,
yes,
and the pitch to change on the roof.
Right, and so we can lower the roof, the wall area, which will reduce the metal. There's a lot of things that we can do.
And that's in the housing part, that's the heating part of it, right?
That is that would be actually in the entire building.
The bay too.
The base too. Yeah, they'll be plenty high, but they had to be higher because I guess the design was to allow the mezzanine to be a full height. Okay. So we'll be able to cut probably 4 feet off of that, and then just bring the whole building down, and you really wouldn't notice it, but it'll substantially save on the steel and the extra material. So that would be our recommendation.
Okay.
We'll be talking about this again very soon.
Well, what we have before us is we're going to need a motion to reject all bids on the first 4 stations.
So So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? So carries. The next item, we just have,
Sure, we need to ask you guys to allow us the ability to negotiate.
okay, then I'll just make that a separate motion. We need a motion to renegotiate, how do you want to state this?
Just
The lowest bidder?
Right.
Okay.
To bring the project.
Motion to begin negotiation with the lowest bidder.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is year-end budget amendments. Mr. Gay.
Turn this over to
Mr. Bailey.
He's the money man.
Mr. Chairman, you've got in front of you a draft, and I do want to emphasize, this is just a draft copy of the annual report for the year. And the auditors did it a little bit different this year. Normally they give me what I need to do to make adjusting entries, and I come before y'all with the actual journal, the actual budget amendments. This year they just gave me the draft. In essence, what I need for you guys to do is take a look at the revenue on the very first page. I need to adjust the final budget numbers to reflect the actual amount.
Do you have an extra one of those, Mr. Bill? Oh, okay.
This is Mr. Ryan.
Just pass that one out to Mr. Cleary.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Bill.
So speaking about revenues, under total revenue, you'll see the 12,879, which is the original budget. To that, we added some things to get it up to 14,800. We actually collected 14,590, so we need to adjust our budget to that figure. And looking at expenditures over on the second page, somewhere down there is the total expenditures. Original budget was 12,400, final 14,345, and the actual, which is the number that I really like, is 13,289,649. And just some simple math will show you that our revenues over expenditures this past year was $1,000,003. So that took us from a negative fund balance of $838,711 to a positive fund balance of $174,000, which is pretty substantial. Again, this is a draft, so just keep that in mind. But what we're looking for is for you to authorize me to make these budget amendments to reflect the actual amounts compared to what we have in the budget right now. I'll be glad to answer any questions, but not any specifics. The auditors are coming next month, and I'll let them answer those.
And we did have a meeting with the auditors, and they were very complimentary on Bill and his staff for the great job and the leadership that the commissioners have provided. As always, there were a few findings, but they were very, very minor. And some of them you really can't address in a small office like segregation of duties. So I was very pleased, and of course they'll come and tell you guys that, but I did want to say thanks for the good job you guys have done. Thanks to Bill and his staff, and the county departments as well for helping us manage. So
it's true that there was an out of the ordinary item in revenue of $800,000, but that, there's $200,000-300,000 more that the department had saved off their budgets, which allowed us to help out a lot too. And additionally, the back pages are the funds such as the drug fund, date fund, and those other jail funds that we'll need to add those budgets as well. Normally we just, since it's so small, we just take what we collect and what we spend, and that's the budget for the year. So that's what we're doing here.
So the budget will reflect the date fund, drug forfeiture?
Yes, those back pages.
So what I'm hearing, you need a year-end budget amendment to reflect actual amounts that you just presented to us.
Correct.
Commissioners, do we need a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? So passes. Thank you for that, Mr. Bill. Anything else that you have there?
Just have you had a copy of the county bank balance.
I did say that, yes.
General fund is 3.8. 911's at 160,000. We'll move that to general fund as we need to. And the rest of the accounts look pretty strong as well. Got any questions? I'd be glad to answer.
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is the hotel motel tax going up? Did it go up?
Go up.
No? Okay.
I'll need to write a check to the Chamber of Commerce to move that 1,800 to them, though.
Thank you, Mr. Bill. Mr. Gay, report from county administrator.
Yes, sir, thank you. Just a few things. I'm going to give Susan, maybe after the meeting, I think we got another meeting, we'll start looking at our SPOS documents. We're going to need to have this finalized before June, and I'm going to need to get to the city as well. So I'll be contacting Doug and Mayor and others, and we'll be looking at that, but we'll kind of work toward that. They should be somewhat simplified this year because the fact that we're not going to be borrowing any dollars on that. So, but I'll get with Susan on that. Met with the airport authority, and we were able to really come to terms with a continuation of the lease on the blue hangar. But another thing that's going to be part of that lease is the Glider Club, which is doing that. It's a 3-year lease. To be terminated within 180 days notice by either party. But the Glider Club is actually going to look at a ground lease and build their own hangar there, which is going to free up that blue hangar to be able to be used for rent and hopefully for an FBO. And so that was a pretty good deal. The gentleman from the Glider Club and I sat down and looked over the lease. Susan, if you don't mind, I'm going to send you a copy of that and give it to your legal blessing before we finalize it. So,
Mr. Gay, we may need to explain that ground lease just a little bit further. What happens in those deals, when somebody comes in on your property and builds a building, they'll have maybe a 30-year lease, whatever we sign to them. If at any point they leave, that property becomes ours, or can become just duration of time, it can become ours, but it will eventually be the county property.
and that's a pretty common way to do things. That way the airport authority does not have to put out capital outlay and hope that they have the building continuously leased. And at the end of the term of the ground lease, the building reverts back to the airport authority. It becomes their building. They can turn it, rent it, or whatever they want to do with it at that time. So it's a good deal, and something I think we suggested that they look at it. And so I think it's going to turn out to be very good. And maybe that'll be the first meeting to come. So we hope that will work too. Okay. Also met with the, one other thing on the airport, our airport representative from GDOT was informed this morning they're redistricting some people, and so he's going to be maybe to another location. And we've got a gentleman coming in that Phil Everly's very familiar with, works really well with us, so I think that'll be very good. We also met with the IDA. I talked with GDOT on some bridge projects. We had submitted some bridges, but we didn't have it necessarily right away, but they did call me back and said they were going to do a bridge here in Meriwether, and they're going to send me the information on that. So they're going to replace a bridge on one of our roads at no cost to us. The only thing we got to do is to certify right of way and provide a detour. The funds, we made a call to go ahead and get our funds for the striping project, and I think we got $60,000 placed into the county's account. So now we're ready to move forward. We've sent Peak Pavement a notice to proceed on the original roads and the additional roads that we did. I want to remind everybody that at your next work session at 4 o'clock, we're going to have BOC, which is a company that's been working with the school system, come in and talk to us. they're not only going to tell us about what they've done for the school system, but they're also going to talk to us about what they can do for the county and the cities and in getting the word out. You guys are, talk about it, and we always try to, get the word out, like, for example, this questionnaire. But there's so many things out there, and I think Mr. Cuddy hit on it earlier, so much bad information out there. We want to provide people with the correct information, and I think BOC Company can help us develop a game plan to do that. So we're going to do that, I think it's March the 27th at 4 o'clock. And we're going to invite all the cities, the school, the chamber, press, everybody to be here to be able to hear that. And that will be our work session. If we have time at the end, we'll add a few more items. But that will be the primary focus of that work session. And we want to start that at 4 instead of 4:30 that day to give us plenty of time. And Mr. David Voss will be here to do that presentation. I wanted to ask you guys if y'all are okay with this. If you are, we'll move forward with trying to develop it. We're really almost through our business license season this year, but one of the things I think would help with business license and taxes is if we had a policy that says, in order to renew your business license, you have to have your taxes paid on your business property, not your home, but on your business property. That way, someone comes in that, Joe's auto repair, and Joe hadn't paid his property tax. Joe really can't get his business license renewed until he pays his property tax, because it made it somewhat unfair for people to be able just to continue to not pay when everyone else is paying and is still operating their business. So if you guys are interested in us looking at that, I'll get with Susan and we can try to work on something, to that effect. And that would seem to be fair to all those businesses that do pay.
Well, nobody has a problem with that, do we?
Okay. We'll get together and we'll work on something on that. That just a good policy, I think, to have, and I think it'll help Ron in his office as well, and it'll help others through the tax collection as well. The vision questions I was going to bring that up. Brendan talked about that earlier, so I won't mention that. We're also working on our short-term work program. We have that almost complete and ready to be typed out, and then we'll send you guys a copy of that to look over. We'll need those from the cities as well as we go forward, completing the comprehensive plan. We are also working on service delivery. I've got the forms. I'm going to get that written up, and we're going to get that completed back to the cities. We do need to still meet on water and sewer, and so we'll set that meeting up here very soon as well. Also, I received a email from Bill and Gail Coffee about trying to work. They do a Meriwether Miles bike ride in June every year. And they would like to look at being able to have our county designated as a bike-friendly community, and maybe ask GDOT to put up some signage on routes. And with the board's blessing, I'll be happy to kind of look at that and see what I can do to maybe talk to GDOT to allow some signage to be put up on some routes to the county. And that is what I have for today, and I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you doing all that. At this time, it becomes the report from our county commissioners. Commissioner Bray.
I really don't have anything, but I would like for people to come out to our recreation meeting this evening at 4:30. And I would ask people to get involved. Most of the time people think recreation is just ball, but there are other aspects of recreation also, and I would like for us to venture into those. That's all I have.
Thank you. I guess it's my turn. I have just a few items here that just came to my attention as we were talking. The gun range, we have approval from Mr. NRA, Neely Raper, was really fascinated with it, and I guess we're going to have to get back underway with that as soon as we can.
Tyrell and I have talked about that, and we definitely need to do that. We got a lot of the work done, we just need to
That's
bring it
right.
down a little bit more. And, we could probably.
The archery and,
Yeah, we could actually set the archery up already if, if you have any conflicts with the other. And they'd have more flexibility in time to use that rather than just Sunday afternoons. So, if they, we could get together and talk about that, we probably could go ahead and get them set up to shoot archery.
Okay. Last night at our Lake Meriwether meeting, got them to understand that the bathroom is going to stay on the same footprint. That has been a hard pill to swallow. Everybody seems to be coming around to it. Okay. The other thing we talked about was the trail, and we voted last night to stop the trail basically where we are, loop it back so we can get this done in time for the grant. We're looking at roughly 3.5 miles out and 3.5 back, something in that neighborhood, if you can estimate with a GPS. So I guess what I need from the commissioners today is a motion that we just do that segment of trail. Since we are the advisory board at this time.
Would that be better too?
I don't know that we need to do that.
Till we clear out the grant?
Yeah. And that can be our intention to do that, but I don't know if we formally need to approve that.
Well, that's our recommendation to the board. We'll handle it, so.
The board has already got approval from DNR to take the trail halfway across the creek and then halfway toward that house. How do we want to?
I think maybe at this time, just take it as, an advisory.
Just take it as an advisory.
Hey, this is just a recommendation and, and then, we'll note that we're going to continue that trail.
That 3.5 miles, that's a long walk.
It is a long walk.
And the Lake Meriwether group had what I thought was a really good idea. They were talking about, taking an emblem of the peach and painting it as our trail markers. I tried that. You cannot paint a emblem of a peach on a rough bark trail. It just does not work. It looks like a spot. So we're going to have to rethink that and go to a little
This has
different.
been a learning experience for all of us.
What we're looking at today, as it was brought to us last night, is an emblem of a peach on plexiglass.
Yeah.
And it's fastened to an aluminum piece of conduit that we can just mount along the way. So that's the way we're probably going to go. And we'll get some prices and things, and we'll let you know what.
There's money in the grant to pay for those materials.
Okay,
as well.
very good.
And we also I had been talking with Danny Stevens about design on the bridge crossing of a creek, and I'll kind of grab that out. Did
He got the utility poles, he told us last night.
Fantastic, yeah. And we're going to just basically sink the utility poles in and do a frame. It'll be, I think, 60 inches wide. We should get an ATV or whatever, a side-by-side across it. If you had to for emergency, and then we'll build it, we'll just ramp over. We'll sink it into the ground and put some concrete in. When the flood comes, it will wash the bridge out. And, we can get that done. I told Danny that I would have equipment to be able to haul the materials down to the first creek area. And then once we build that first landing, I probably can get them over to the second landing as well. So we'll work on that.
Just wanted to mention the covered bridge that Brent talked so much to us about this morning about the cameras. And one of the pressures that we have, the chamber is wanting to do another event this spring on the bridge, so we need to get everything in place as quickly as we can. That's what that was all about. And that's about all I have. Commissioner Hadley.
I have a couple of things to mention. Warm Springs annual spring fling will be the second weekend in April. I think that is the 14th and 15th. They'll have a large number of vendors already signed up. Of course, there'll be food items there as well. But I'll put that on your calendar. And then this Friday is the report card day at Manchester High School. Anybody can be there to meet with the students and talk with them about their cards. They ask you to be there at 8:15, and they'll meet with you a few minutes and go over it. And I haven't seen a date for Greenville High School. Has anybody seen one? Oh, it's the same day? Okay. All right, well, both schools then this Friday for the report cards. It's been a,
Also, the expo at the school.
College and career expo.
College and career day.
That's a conflict for a bunch of people. Because we'll be having booths there.
yeah.
I made them aware of that.
It's been quite a couple of, really busy couple of weeks, a lot of meetings and stuff going on. And I know Carolyn's not here this morning, but I just want to express my appreciation to the chamber for hosting the community leaders meeting last Friday. 5 of our 7 cities were there, and the commissioners and members of the chamber, and it was just, and the Board of Education. And it was just a very, very good meeting. I think everyone decided that that will become a meeting on some kind of regular basis. And I thought it was a lot of good information, good time just to share what's going on with each other. So I appreciate them getting that together, and know that we'll be looking for some future dates on that as well. And talking about the tires, we know it is such an issue, and there's an area in Warm Springs where I pick up trash, and I guess it's been a couple of weeks ago now, I happened to notice a couple of new additions of tires, and was able to speak with the mayor there, and he and some of his staff. This is a small stretch of road, y'all. It probably goes no further than from here to maybe West Georgia Tech. They collected 30 tires just on that little area, but they did get it cleaned up, and they'll be bringing up to our tire amnesty thing next week. But that was just a short stretch of road in the city limits, you know, that folks have been dumping tires, so we're glad to get those up. The Board of Education also has had an advanced ed group there to visit their schools and give some insight into what they see good and what can be improved, whatever. I believe the team leaves today, and I was glad to be a part of an interview process there on Monday with some other community leaders and some parents. It was just good interaction. I think the county and the community leaders and the school board coming together can only be positive. They're working really hard to have other people involved, and of course trying to get the message out about what is right, not saying that everything's perfect by any means, but they're working hard to get a positive message out there, and some of the steps they've taken, I think, is only going to get us further down the road. But I appreciate Dr. Dixon and all of those with the school board who is working to include the Board of Commissioners and the cities and the communities in their efforts. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hines.
You've heard me spoke earlier about grants and other opportunities, so I want to thank Mr. Gay as well as Bren and Alphonse, just once we provided them with that information to move on with it. So I appreciate all the work that you all have done already, and hopefully we apply and hopefully be granted the safer grant. Okay. There's another grant that is available. It's the Rural Business Development Grant, and unfortunately, like Bren said, when they post these things, they only give you 30 days. So the one for the Rural Development Grant was posted March the 13th, and the due date is April the 30th. I think I've sent this out to all the elected officials and to the cities, but once again, this grant is working towards small business. It also talks about technical assistance and capacity building, so anyone wants more information about it, I have it. I'm also the legislative representative for Meriwether County, so I'm going to ask Beth not to hit me after I share this information with her, because it's not my personal information. But there's a House Bill 373. It's the CUVA bill. It's pending in the Senate Finance Committee. Basically, there's going to be some changes if this bill passed. So currently, it's pending in the Senate Finance Committee. Would make it easier for owners to qualify for conservation using the evaluation assessment of real property. In exchange for the owner placing the property under a CUVA covenant restriction for use of such property, CUVA designation result in asset of the property at least their fair market value, whereby resulting in lower tax for the owner. By making qualification for such preferential tax easement, House Bill 373 could negatively impact the county tax digest. Additionally, this legislation will require County Board of Assessors to pay the property owner's attorney fee if a court rules against the board regarding whether CUVA application should be granted, whether CUVA application has been breached by the owner. ACCG is not in favor of this, so they're asking us to contact people, our legislators, to void this. I mean, not void it, but share this with them. So once again, our legislature is in session. I don't know how many more days they have to be up there, but hopefully not enough days to get this passed. This is a big impact on Meriwether County. There's no ifs and buts about it. And as a county, I don't think we have a problem with CUVA as far as providing it. I think the challenge is, once again, all these changes and mandates that kind of tie our hands.
And the abuse of it.
And the abuse of it, But for this county, once again, this will have a big impact on Meriwether County. But we do need to know what is being proposed so that we can be in front of it, because this really affects the money that we're going to have to use to manage this county. And there's so many other things that limit us already. So once again, I just wanted the board to be aware of, if you want any information, if you want a copy of this.
What's really strange about that, the wording is to make it easier for people to use it. I don't know how it could get much easier. It's about to go up there and ask.
I mean, it's a whole lot different than it was originally.
I just can't even believe this is in there.
You know,
I don't know how I missed it.
well, I will only say, it's kind of scary sometimes when we're in session, because it's amazing what gets introduced. And unfortunately, it is usually something that someone had a gripe with somewhere in the state of Georgia, and they bring it forth and say, this is a good idea.
It's a powerful lobby.
And it's usually negative toward local government. It makes it harder and harder for local government to manage. This TABT is a good example.
Good example, yeah.
You know, somebody complained because, well, I don't like to have to do this every year. So, okay, all of a sudden we got it. Well, the state promises we're going to, get you this money, we're going to do. Never turns out, always turns out to their advantage and a disadvantage to local government. Even the whole tax process. At one time, you had only to send notices to people who had changes. You had 7-day appeal. If you lived in the county, 10-day out. Now you have a 45-day. You have to send it to everybody, whether changes or not. And that's a lot of money when you consider the stationery, the stamps, and everything. So everything is,
Stamps, 50 cents a piece now.
yeah, that's right.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, we can voice our concerns with our representatives, and not only the ones who represent our county, but the ones who introduce these bills, so we have to stay on top of it. So I will say ACCG does an excellent job keeping us informed, and as they send me this information, I try to forward it on to Mr. Gay so we'll be aware of it, because a lot of this stuff will affect us immediately, some will be down the road. As far as the tipping fees, that went from 3 to 2. So, once again, there's always that negotiation, but I think just the fact that it increased a little bit is going to be a help to us. But, there's still a lot of things that's pending, so as soon as I get the final bills, I'll bring it to everyone, and hopefully we can get our representatives, Buckner and Trammell, to come back down and share with us the bills that were passed, how they will have a direct impact in Meriwether County and the surrounding areas, because I think there were a lot of things that will impact us directly. So I'll make sure that everyone's aware of that.
And we do appreciate our local reps. I know I'm sometimes, maybe a little critical of the state, but it's, our local reps are really good. I mean,
Jimmy Buckner does an excellent job.
Trammell do a great job for us. We appreciate what they do.
I think that was enough for me.
I'll just say one more thing about the CUVA. It's been a pet peeve of mine for a long time. But what the people don't realize is you can't do away with it completely. But if we did not have these exemptions, we would have no budget issues.
Right.
We could do the things that we need to do in Meriwether County. In fact, our taxes would probably be less per property if you didn't have this. Now, you're going to have some, but we're in such a large rural area, there's going to be lots of property that can fit into this and legally fit into it. But it's been changed so much that basically you got a deer running through your yard, you're considered, wildlife, or you're growing a pine tree, or you're raising some chickens in your backyard, or you got a little garden, it's considered a farm. And it's not, it's a hobby. And we have people that are taking benefit of this exemption, and they do not meet the criteria. But when you try to do anything about it, we get no backing to try to do anything about it. We tried years ago to do something, and immediately the powers that be came in and changed everything we tried to do.
Well, the program started as a program to help small farms,
That's right.
family farms, et cetera.
And very much needed.
And very much needed, because there was a gentleman that I actually looked at it back in the early 80s. He was up near Perimeter Mall. He had a little farm there, and it looked kind of funny. It was out of place, but there was a little farm, and he didn't want to sell it. And so that's how it developed. But now, you have timber corporations and everybody else who's able to take advantage of it. That was never the original intent.
Okay. Barrister Susan.
I don't have anything. We do have need for an executive session to discuss legal, personnel, and real estate issues.
Okay, well, at this time, we're up to public comment. Anybody that wishes to speak?
Sitting there so long, got stiff, Rosalind Plant. There's that. First off, Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity, Rosalind Plant, and I do appreciate this. And for a little history, because everybody may not know this, but in 1984 election, I ran to fill an unexpired term as post 2. And this was a county-wide voting of candidate with no specific area the county, the candidate had to live in the county. In 1986 election, the county had changed from post to district. Only the residents of the district could vote for the candidate who resided within that district. All elections at this time was controlled out of the probate office, just so everybody remembers this history. July the 17th of 2017, I filed under the Freedom of Information request, item number 4, and I specifically requested the Department of Justice 1985-86 ruling where Meriwether County elections post to district. And further noted, probate office handled all elections during this time frame. And my reason for that was to establish what if the Department of Justice, or if the state, or if the county, how we went about changing from post to district. That was the reason why I requested it. But as of this date, I had not received any information relating to item number 4. Recently, I was contacted and I was made aware that the county commission qualifications state, and at this time I'd like to pass these out and make sure commissioners and Ms. Henderson get at least a copy. But I was made aware that under these qualifications, you must be a resident of the county in which seek an office for at least 12 months prior to election or appointment. And I questioned that, but I decided, well, the best thing to do is go to the elections office and try to find out definitively. So on March the 8th, on Thursday, I was given this particular qualification sheet. And in trying to determine if I was eligible, most all my questions were answered either negatively, or they would have to be given, I would either need to request legal advice, or the person answering would be needing legal advice. And at this time, I want to interject, this is in no way to be taken negatively or personal by anybody. I'm just trying to get something clarified. Based on the qualifications list, and when you review that, I believed I was fully eligible because I've been a resident of this county since 1974. So on Friday morning, I submitted documents requesting to be qualified. By noon, I'm sorry.
I added another minute.
Okay, go
By noon, I was advised I would not be eligible based on a reference document of which I was advised that I would actually review the document before I formally withdrew. So at this time, when I go back in, this is the document that I received. And this is House Bill 718 that was signed into law by the governor on 4/4/1997, in which I reviewed Section 1, Paragraph B. Each candidate for election to the Board of Commissioners shall, at the time of qualification for election, be a resident of the commission district she seeks to represent. The office of any member of the board who ceases to be a resident of the commission district he or she represents shall become vacant by operation of law as of the date of change of residency. And with this understanding, I submitted a statement of withdrawal for this reason. But I'd like to respectfully request that the commission consider two items. House Bill 718 needs to be added to the package for anyone inquiring the Georgia County Commission qualifications for elections of office. And I would further request that my qualification fee be returned, because had I had document number 2, I would never have filed for qualification. So with that, thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just to get some more clarification, what district or post were you referring to? Because is this any district in the county, or what district were you trying to run that they said you weren't qualified for?
At the time when I qualified on Friday morning, which was around 9 o'clock, there was no one qualified for District 1. And that's what I put in, District 1. And then was I a resident of I put NA, because based on document number 1, I'm a resident of the county. And I could qualify for any of the districts, but I believe 2 of the commissioners had already filed, so District 1 was open at that time. And for a matter of record, I just want some clarity for this, and that if House Bill is going to be the document that actually we go by, 718, that should be part of the package. We should not be using a state qualification information when you've got to be a resident of the district that you live in. And I thought about this long and hard. With the history that I have, I ran as post first time, I ran as district second time, and I ran as district third time. But if all of a sudden we've changed somewhere midstream because I was unable to secure the information that I requested last year, my assumption was, well, maybe you can run as long as you're a county resident.
Just for more information, just to add, I did receive a phone call from the elections office about the matter, and I didn't bring the law with me. I left my office too quickly yesterday. I had intended to bring it, but actually the state law is fairly clear on it as well. But the House bill just kind of goes a little bit more involved into it. That's the bill that actually created the districts, and that's obviously what we have to go by. The state law actually says that if you cannot vote in the election that you are seeking to obtain, then you cannot seek the election in that particular district. In other words, if it's a district race and you're not a member of that district whereby you could vote in that election, then you can't in turn run for that seat.
But in reviewing the qualifications, the very first sheet.
I haven't seen the sheet, and I'll get with the elections office and we'll see if it'll provide a little more clarity in that.
Right, and whatever we provide the public is what I'm after, is provide the information that will be the controlling document.
Certainly, and that makes sense.
And,
That's an easy fix, and I'm sorry you went through all that, but I'll talk to the elections office about it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Susan, is this something we need to establish a procedure?
Certainly, well, I don't know that it needs to be a procedure, but the documents that Rosamond is talking about, it would be very helpful for that to be in the packet for the people that are attempting to qualify.
When you go, you should get a packet.
Absolutely, so that you're aware of whether or not you do indeed qualify before you expend the resources to try to qualify for that grant.
I think right now, the form, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, that you see led you to believe, and I looked at it and I agree with you, that you just had to be a resident of the county. It didn't specify you had to live in the district or whatever. And we really just need to update our form and include these other documents where it's very clear when you go in that not only do you have to be a resident of the county, but you also have to be a resident of the district in which you're at. And I think that would clarify a lot of information.
And I want to say this as far as Patty and the Superintendent of Elections and all, in her job capacity, we need to give her as many tools in her toolbox that she needs to address these up front. And then had she been able to answer that on Thursday, that would have been beneficial to me, not only me, but anybody coming in from the public for general use. And that if we need to look at this, and the interesting thing is for me is the changes in trying to determine how we got where we are from 1984 to 2018, you know. There was a huge change when you went from probate office to an elections office. And that's where we need to strengthen. And I know I've been in this chamber before where cities are requesting assistance in elections, that it may become a problem if they're not fully advised going into it what they need.
Well,
the
actually,
needs are.
that part's a pretty easy fix. I mean, Ms. Threadgill does a great job
Exactly.
in the elections office, but it's just a simple matter of adding some language to the packet when somebody's seeking to run for office, which I admire anybody that does so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Any other questions? Okay.
Good morning, Chairman. I have a few questions, and not as complicated as her. Okay. The questions I had were regarding...
But would you, I think you and I know each other, but would you state your name and address for the record?
Okay. My name is Ralph Ellis, and my address is 1239 Ellis Road, Hogansville 30230. I'm in District 2, I believe. My questions were regarding the survey that was put up by this gentleman right here. Have a couple questions. Where can I find it? How will I know it exists? I don't know if the general public knows that it exists. I think it's a good survey, but I'm even here at the meeting and I don't know where I'll find it. What are the dates for the survey? And I didn't want to interrupt, but could I have asked that particular question at that particular time when the survey was put up?
Yeah, the survey will be put up by this Friday, okay? And it will be available at Meriwether County's ga.gov. And it will also on their Facebook page and Bureau of Admissions session meetings coming up, right? And, you know, we'd love you to be able to attend when you have those. There will be some paper copies, or you can go online and, you know, and complete it there as well. Once you go online, it'll come back into our system, and we've kind of decided where it's a quick check. We'll use some comment sections, but that will tell you about the meetings. If you come tomorrow afternoon, we'll have those copies available. You can fill them out while you're here, drop them in our collection box, or you can go online. But I would also, you know, suggest that you come to those visioning meetings because we'll have some dialogue there as well. And there may be something from some of the other citizens that might, you know, produce a question from you or others or something you were planning on asking that might get answered in the process.
All right, thank you. Is that answered a lot of my questions, I appreciate that. Is it possible to get a copy of that draft that you have for the finances, or is that not available?
No.
Not
Yeah,
available.
it's just a draft. Once the audit is done, we'll have copies on the April 11th meeting.
All right, and when you're giving out dates, if you kind of go giving them a little slower, because I want to write down some things. I didn't get them all.
Get your pencil ready.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr.
Do you have an agenda, a copy of today's agenda?
Yes.
Okay, on the very back, there's gonna be some dates listed on there too.
That's right. Are there others?
But Commissioner, the one I have, all got the same date for the comprehensive visioning meeting, all of that March the 15th.
Oh, yeah, it is wrong.
Okay, all right, we'll get that corrected. There is a packet in there, Charlene, that shows the various dates.
Yeah, it is.
Good morning, I'm gonna put my Red Cross hat on this morning
Yes, come in.
and kind of remind everybody with the cold weather to be a little safer. In the past 7 days, I've responded to 5 fires within Meriwether and Troup County. I had 3 yesterday.
Wow.
So just remind everybody to be a little safer. You know, it's space heaters are the usual culprit.
Thank you, Mr. Dunaway.
I do want to make a comment to the person from the newspaper. Please don't take this personal. It's not a personal thing, it's just an observation. I noticed in the paper when the session where it ends, I meant to bring it, the dates that was in there for the county was wrong for our meetings.
Okay, I'll point that out too.
And even Lone Oak's meeting is incorrect. It's not consistent, so one of the things I have mentioned to Bren is to make sure that the dates for our meetings and for the city is on our website. Because once again, if we're going to try to help promote communication and community involvement, we need to give out good information.
We'll make sure that that's done.
Yeah, it's just it could have been a typo, but since the people don't come out as regular every week, and since we're encouraging people to come to these meetings, we need to have the dates correct.
Jenny, do you have any questions? The website on the calendar has all the dates.
We need to do that. That's actually a sponsored feature in the paper, and we have to go through the sponsor as well, but we'll take care of that.
Okay, thank you.
I noticed Mr. Ron Garrett raised your hand.
Chairman McCoy, I forgot to mention when you were going through the bulkhead time, I forgot to mention something to the board about tire disposal or tire dumping. We got a tip, my code enforcement officer got a tip yesterday morning that somebody was dumping tires in the county, so we followed up on investigating it. And I've got the state EPD involved also. We're getting ready to prosecute an individual's carrier that's hauling tires. We're going to prosecute the property owner because allowing tires to come in. And we'll prosecute 2 tire dealers out of Granville that were bringing tires.
Very good.
We found about 500 tires
No, wow, dang.
on our property.
Great. Miss Jane will hug your neck. That's gonna hurt.
That ought to qualify for that
Appreciate that.
super fund money, so.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And they come in and dispose of that.
Yeah.
Well, we can prosecute all the state EPD.
Yeah.
And hopefully, they could get fined enough to $1,000 per tire. Yeah.
All right, we're still in public comment. Colonel Routon, I noticed you went to say, you changed your mind? No other public comment? All right, we'll close that then. We
Yes, I
do
do have one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I had a comment, I know they said they had problems on 27th, and I called them the 3 sisters. They don't ever miss a meeting, and I noticed they weren't here, so does anyone?
They may have gotten blocked by,
Probably blocked in
they
the
probably
traffic.
got blocked by the traffic because it was not them in the accident.
Yeah, I heard that, but some still made it. Alcohol.
It's open now. Okay. Give me a little bit more time, please. We have need for an executive session, and that is for what, Miss Susan?
That's going to be for personnel, real estate, and legal.
Oh, okay. Now, most of you will probably be gone when we come back out. And all I'm going to mention to you is our work session, March 27th at 4 p.m. and our regular meeting at March 27th at 6 p.m. I understand there's some date correction needs to be done here, so I won't go into all of that. Do I hear a motion we go into executive session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank y'all so much. We'll be back shortly.
Thank you.
I've already worn me out.
Appreciate you. Appreciate the great pressure.
Jack, appreciate you.
That's a great thing about doing that. I may try to make it, I really will. Everybody got what it is, are good people.
Okay, I got
Yeah.